Get my heartbeat up a bit.
Loves a puzzle. So me and Craig are going to do a relationship Q&A about being in a relationship in our 20s while doing a puzzle of a bookshop because we are those North London wankers.
This is 2 weeks' work.
It's like our relationship. A long slog.
I mean, why do we even have a second shot for the puzzle? We're like, are you ready to see the puzzle not change at all?
Weirdly, we really enjoy it, and I'm not sure why, but I think there's very few pointless exercises that we can participate in as millennials, and I think that this is one that's so obviously pointless that it's kind of weirdly relaxing.
It's like a microcosm of life. You're just staring at all the pieces like,
like nothing makes sense.
And maybe like every half an hour you're like, there's one! that counts for like 2 years. We got one. How many more? 999 pieces. Great.
The slowest dopamine release ever. I see your Instagram likes being hidden and I raise you a puzzle. We also asked for your questions on Instagram about what relationship in 20s. So for context, me and Craig have been together for about 2 years. We did a video on this channel. 2.5 years.
Oh, right. 2 years
Docking up those points.
6 months, actually.
And you were very popular. People will keep asking to see you again. Oh, yes, Craig!
I don't know. Oh my god. Yeah, motherfucker! Okay,
we got one.
Boom.
Okay,
one
fine.
piece.
Sam asks, how do you put up with Leena?
I think that I'm just as irritating, so it kind of like balances out.
Self-recognition.
Yeah. So, how do you put up with me, Leena?
Oh, whiskey.
Whiskey? Mm-hmm. Would you like to go get a sample?
I do drink on my own in the kitchen sometimes. Be like, Mummy's just having a little tiffle.
You?
Yeah.
I'm learning so much. So do you?
I did too. I don't know where they belong in the bigger picture, but I know they belong together. A life lesson.
Everyone
like, please
everyone
help me.
Everyone in the comments section is like, Craig, blink twice if you need help.
No, it's not right.
Me and every relationship
every other
before
relationship.
you.
It almost
this
fits.
Could be
No, it's not the same fucking piece, and you keep turning it around,
okay.
and nothing.
We've been filming
happens.
for 10 minutes and we've answered one question.
Intellect Grime asks, what would you say is the most similar couple dynamic to you two from TV or books?
The only one that comes to mind is, this is a very, very loose fit, much like my XL t-shirts, that is Chandler and Monica from Friends. But that's only because, like, I don't know, I feel like there are probably better examples, but like, I'm very...
You're Monica though, to be clear.
But yeah. I feel like I'm a clean freak. Do you think I'm high maintenance? I think
you maintain your own high standards. You don't ask other people to maintain them for you. So in that way, I wouldn't call you high maintenance. But
yeah, and you're definitely Chandler because you have you tell a lot of jokes that you find hilarious and nobody else does.
And I'm like, and everyone's like, who is this person and why does she gesticulate so much?
And hey, look, I don't know whether this counts, but I've just found 2 pieces that were already together. So you know what? I'm going to count that. I don't know whereabouts it goes, but listen. Also,
I'm the kind of person who would get into a relationship with Janice.
Oh, really? Well, I mean...
like, I can see that.
I think, without naming any names, you have been with Janice before. Let's be real. I remember when we first started hanging out, though, really being into... Oh, my God. Oh, snap.
It's another piece.
How did you know that you wanted to be in a relationship with him? I love how it says him. Him. You know, that guy.
I said in the last video, you're not haunted by your masculinity.
I like the sound of
really
that.
Like that.
Masculinity. Where are you? Haunting somebody else, probably. It's a very leaner way of putting it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I feel like, you know, like the other week I went paintballing and there was lots of guys that were like, I don't know, the whole time trying to be like, come on then lads, let's fucking get them. And I was like, guys.
I think we'd do better if we went to the team.
I was like, I was really happy that I shot the gun. It went bang. I don't know. Like I don't know. I did it to make people feel uncomfortable. Anyways, let's stop talking about me.
Okay. I love you because I don't love you because then it means that I could not love you if you had a moment of not. But like, I realised I wanted to be with you because you're very funny, you're very kind, and we have exactly the same vibe. Which doesn't mean we're exactly the same person, but we have a very similar vibe.
That's cool.
You're like, stop complimenting me. I don't like it.
Excellent news.
Ellen asks, Craig, what is your favourite bird?
Actually, my
Craig
favourite
really
bird
likes
is
birds.
a chaffinch, and it sounds like this.
That's a chaffinch sound.
I like swifts, but they sound horrible. They're like, ah! Like if you hear like a screeching bird in the streets at the moment, they'll be swifts because they're here for the summer. I also like swallows as well. They're very nice. I really like wrens.
You read a whole book about wrens, didn't you, recently?
I did. Yes, DJ Rendition. And also I like robins. I have a robin.
There's a robin tattoo
on my arm here. Can you see that? Wait, can we get it on that camera? There it is. There. I just like them is all.
I think you have a much fuller answer for what's your favourite bird than anybody else I've ever met.
And tawny owls are very nice
That's
too.
true, tawny owls are good.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you stop previous relationship issues coming into feelings in a new relationship? Yeah, how do you stop it from like ruining your I did another one. New relationship.
I think that we have been very fortunate in that a lot of the things that we've learned from previous relationships, first of all, have been similar things because we've had similar ex-partners. I think the only thing that I have always like held with me is like my first relationship ever when I was like 15 that like fell apart really badly. Because I was a dick, frankly, like I'm like I totally like in hindsight I'm like I totally deserved that. And since then I think that I have been quite addicted to monogamy. You know what I mean? But I think that it's like healthy to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
like,
I
just don't like sleeping around, Frank. Basically, like that's just what it comes down to.
I'd be really wary of somebody who'd say like, oh, I've been in X amount of relationships and they all ended because of the other person. Like I did nothing wrong ever.
Yeah.
Like I think it's good to meet someone and know that they can recognise where they could have acted better in a relationship. Like that's a really good sign. It's like people who you meet and they're like, oh, every friend I've ever had has screwed me over, and I'm like, every single one, really.
But when you hear stuff like that, you are like, every single like if that was true, it's like that would indicate that maybe it's not the friend.
Yeah, or like there's unrealistic expectations, there's stuff that wasn't communicated, there's only half of a story being told. Like, so I think it's good that we both described our old relationships to each other in what I hope was like an impartial, honest way. That when people say like, oh, I don't talk about my previous relationships in my current relationship, I'm like, what? Why? Because it's such a good way to get into somebody else's head about how they feel about relationships and what they don't want. And do you know what I mean? It's almost like a great conversation starter. What are some of your favourite memories with the other person? I think sometimes it's the bad holidays we've been on, like
Cinderford. That was a funny one. We went
where dreams go to die.
Why did we go there?
Because there's a really cheap Airbnb there.
I think we wanted to go to the Cotswolds, and Cinderford was on the edge of the Cotswolds, and it was the weirdest place. It's like where you would expect a horror film to be set, you know.
It was
like,
really weird.
A good place for people to go if they just want to like fade out from the world. So yeah, we went. Yeah. We stayed in this really weird Airbnb. And
the woman put a Tibetan singing bowl on Craig's head
like,
over breakfast when he was trying to eat his Weetabix.
Like
and she was like, I have 5 children and their names spell peace. Penelope, Eladine. And we were like, oh no. So then we were like, well, we can't stay in for dinner. So then we went out for dinner, but nowhere was open. So we ended up getting chips and sitting in a little car park in the rain. And we still had I think that was nice because we still had a funny time.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it had been somebody else, I wouldn't have had a great time.
But then I feel like a lot of my fun memories of us have just been in this flat. We're just like pissing around and just, I don't know, I think because we're so silly and we both
play pranks
are
on
like
each other.
Children, just, you know, like, I don't know, I don't feel like it's always been when we've gone on holiday. Oh yeah, obviously when we went to Aberystwyth, that was sick.
Yeah, when we went to Aberystwyth.
Stayed in a caravan for some reason.
I remember the first time we shaved together. That was really cute.
Cute picture.
Because I felt really embarrassed about having facial hair, and Craig was like, come on, let's, because I was like, oh, I was like shaving but trying not to show him, and then he was like, come on, let's do it together, and he like lathered up my face. Okay, what is a good amount of time per day, week to spend together? Struggling to know what's normal.
What works for us is actually like, we do spend a lot of time together, but also it's not like it's weird when we go off and do our own things. Like, since we've been together, I think we've been on more independent holidays than we have holidays together.
That's true.
I think that's been really good for both of us. I've fully given up on the puzzle. I'm just like, I can't.
I think working towards a good relationship means that it becomes a comfort zone. which is a really good thing. But then once it's become a comfort zone, you want to occasionally leave the comfort zone because any kind of comfort zone isn't good all the time. Okay, this is a deep one. Are you okay for a deep one?
Deep.
What are your pet peeves about each other and how do you deal with it? Go on, Greg, tell me the truth.
Pet peeves. I don't know whether this is a pet peeve, but we don't like the same music, and basically, like, I'm very, very passionate about the kind of music I like. I just, like, it's so sacred to me. And Leena fucking hates the music that I listen to, so it's really annoying when I've got something on and Leena comes in because she's been out and she's like, can we turn it off? And I don't know what it is, but it just hits a nerve, and I'm like, it's just, if there was one thing that I could change about you, it would just be like, I just wish Leena liked my music too. That's it. I wouldn't change anything else. I wouldn't change anything else. That's the main thing.
I just put 2 more pieces in.
Well done. How does it go?
Craig likes things just so.
Just so.
And some of that is justified, and some of it is sometimes hard to uphold.
You mean I like things tidy?
You're just washing my feet. I don't want to wash my feet when I come in.
Okay, Leena wears her sandals, open-toe sandals, in central London, and then comes into our flat and wants to roam around and get into bed with her dirty feet. And I drew a line, and I was just like, no fucking way. You know, you like me to wash my hands after I have a pee, so I do that. I do that for you.
Talk about the business.
Go on if you want to. I don't care.
Really? Okay, this is a survey. If you were to start dating somebody and they had a litre bottle at the top end of their bed near their pillow that was full of piss, would you question it? And when they said, I don't want to get up in the night to go for a pee, so this is my practical solution, would you
all
be
my people with social anxiety, where are you at? You know the struggle.
So you'd rather pee in a bottle and keep... I'm never going to understand that about you, and that's okay. Thank you for stopping.
You empty the bottle every morning.
Best qualities about each other. Thanks, Catherine Flood.
Well, after that
Bringing it
mean
back.
answer you gave in the last question, maybe you should start this one, Cathy.
My favourite things about you. You have a very excellent sense of humour about all situations, and even when you're really upset, you'll bring out the funny part of it. I think you're like a deeply cheerful person who tries to like push the cheeriness down all the time, so when it bubbles over it's even more funny because you kind of hate how cheerful you are and you're like, ugh, I hate that this isn't really affecting me and actually I think the world's a good place.
I think I said this in the last video, but I think that you will do what you're going to do regardless of what the world tells you, regardless of what other people say is possible, and regardless of what people think of you. You're just like, this project, I'm going to start it now. Why not? Hey, I've just entered into a relationship and I've just started a new job that's highly stressful. I'm going to make a video every day for the next 40 days. Why the hell not?
And I did.
I don't know. I just think you put your money where your mouth is a lot of the time and you get things done. So, and also you're a very cheerful person, and you're my first person that unconditionally likes me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think with people that are like when we're just doing normal things, I'm like, oh, Craig is just writing in his notebook. Just like simple things. I'm like, that's just Craig.
You fancy me as much as I fancy you. That's what it is.
Deal.
In the mornings, Leena will sit down and she'll just sit there and she'll make eggs on toast and she'll just be reading her book, and I'm like, it's weird though because like really like mundane things like that, I'm like, oh, Cathy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people asking like, how do you know when you really like someone who should be in a relationship with? And I'm like, when brushing their teeth is like borderline adorable.
I think that you just find it constantly funny how tall I am. Although I don't know whether that's out of affection or not. Just like bump my head on the ceiling all the
Craig
time.
can't stand up in most normal establishments. It's so funny. Or buses, or he just
I have
spends his
constant neck ache.
He has to shower like this.
Sometimes I just squat in the shower because it's easier. Also, you care about things. I think that's really good. Like you, when there's an issue that's happening in the world, you're always just like are really stressed about how you can help. At the moment it's like obviously like climate change and global warming and Extinction Rebellion, and you just like get absolutely balls deep in it, and you're like, oh, we've got to do something.
Like, it's really stressing me out. It's like you'll be like, so what do you want for tea? And I'm like, I don't know, Craig, I'm trying to work out how we can reduce our carbon footprint. And you're like, sausages then. We're like, no, yes.
No, because it's me and veganism.
How do you work on communication? Like, explain like I'm 5. I literally love this question, Burr 27.
I think that we both wear our hearts on our sleeves all the time. I'm a massive oversharer outside of this relationship as it is. I think my colleagues at work sometimes get a bit pissed off with me because I just never shut up. And I'm just like, anyways, here's another monologue. Here's something that happened to me 5 years ago. Anyways, I think that, I don't know, I don't feel like we keep that much from each other. I think we just are very like, you're pissing me off right now, or...
Yeah, I think that was only okay to say once we'd built the trust of being like, do we think this relationship's going to work long term? Are we in this 100%?
I think we knew.
And
that
then you can be like,
pretty
okay,
quick,
back off now.
Yeah.
Like on a day-to-day basis. I think I would have been really upset if you'd done that to me when we were like, oh, maybe, let's see.
Yeah. I think we both get upset with each other now. Like you get stressed out, and I think what annoys me is like when you're stressed with me, and I know you're stressed with me, but you won't say it. I'm like, just tell me that I'm pissing you off. And I'm like, you're just like, oh, can we? I'm like,
I'm Mary
Leena.
Poppins. Everything is fine here. And you're like, you want to murder me, and I'm like, nonsense, poppycock.
You know what? I just feel like that there's not like a complex or eye-opening answer to any of these questions. I just feel like we were dealt a good hand when we met. Like,
I think a lot of it is compatibility. You can't really take credit for being ninjas at relationships. I think that like part of it is just like pairing. It's like you're only going to be so good at a job, even if you do a job for 20 years, if it's not actually something that you're talented at or believe in, then you're only going to get so far with it. You're only going to be this good at it. Yeah. Do you know what's helped me with our relationship that I haven't done in previous ones is that when I want to lash out or say something to you, or like if I'm upset but I don't think it's reasonable, I'll be like, here's what my brain is telling me to feel and say to you, but I don't think that's right, and I don't know why I feel like I want to react this way, but do you know what I mean?
We're going to lay things out on the table.
Yeah,
right?
rather than it owning your immediate response and being like, I am genuinely angry and you can't question me on it. It's more like, so I'm feeling like I want to be really angry at you.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. And then you can talk about it together like it's this extra thing. I think as well, like, because we talk so much about our values and what we think about stuff and what we think is like a cool thing to do and not a cool thing to do.
What the hell?
I put it there.
You tried to put that piece in and it didn't go. And then I tried and it did.
Oh my god. Oh, I was going to high five like it was a team effort. Yeah.
You're so bad at it. You've got to be... Commit to it. And again, got the puzzle piece in. 3, 2, 1. Nailed it.
What's the hardest compromise you've had to make?
You mean in this relationship?
Yeah.
Or I have a lot of anxiety and I have a lot of issues with home and everything being in a certain way, and you've actually properly come through. Like, I feel like this flat used to be absolutely abysmal. And I'm not just saying that as somebody that's just like
it was
highly
like
strong.
How clean is your house kind of program.
It was like, where is the floor? Who knows? Is it up? Is it down? I don't know. The only thing that's indicating that is gravity.
Yeah. But I think as well, like when I tidy stuff, like automatically without like thinking about it, and then halfway through I'm like cleaning something. Like I was cleaning the sink and I'm like, what am I doing? And then, like, I'm like, that's because I like you so much that I'm like, can't believe I like Craig enough to wash my feet every time I come through the door.
Listen, it's gross. It's
I know,
not a big ask.
It's just not something that I ever thought I'd do. Another thing that people asked was like, that relates to this, that a lot of people asked was like, when did you have the conversation about kids and marriage? Now, we talked about it in our last video, so I won't like chew you off about it now. But like, that's a compromise I don't think you should have to make. So I think that is something that we had at the beginning of our friendship. And then we had that conversation at the beginning of our relationship as well. So we didn't all the big things in my life I don't have to compromise on, which is why I am still in this relationship. Because I think there are some massive things that, like, for me, it would compromise personally who I am to compromise those things. So I purposely didn't start a relationship with somebody who would ask me to change my career or not support me creatively, ask me to have a baby, or ask me to get married.
Or had conflicting political views.
Or ask me to be a Tory.
Because I think I don't think that that's necessarily like something that is applicable for everyone. Like, I think that a lot of people don't give a shit whether their partner is, you know, aligned differently politically to them. But I think that that's something that's a massive thing for you. What things have you actually compromised on though?
I think
as in like
not having parties at the house.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me. I really like inviting I just like opening the doors and being like, bring a friend, lol, anyone can come in. Like, the way Craig was introduced to this flat was because they were like, so this is not, it's a normal size 20-something flat in London. And he came into the flat and there were around 50 to 60 people in the flat. Like, not even kidding, like, you couldn't get to the toilet because I was just like, everyone come to the party, and I let all the doors open. I wasn't checking who was coming in the flat. I was just like, there was like broken glass everywhere, and Craig was like, hello.
Yeah.
That was before we were dating, so you knew. But like, that's, I think, not having people, like, not having parties is like a big thing that I was like, it's fine.
So basically all the compromises are based on my shitty mental health,
but
frankly.
that's fine, and I don't think do you know what I mean? I think I don't think that's a big thing. Plus, I'm like, one day I'm going to own a bookshop, then I'm going to throw loads of parties in the bookshop. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And you won't mind that, will you? I fully think if like something changed in my life or something fell through, I'd just be like, Craig, I've put up a GoFundMe to buy a bookshop in Aberystwyth. If I'm really honest, I shared a room with my brother till I was 10, and we fought constantly, and like territorially, like something about like other people touching my stuff is a bit like finding my stuff, like all my stuff isn't where I put it. And like that did stress me out a bit at the beginning. I think I like accepted that I was like, I'm not struggling with this to the point where it's a mental health issue. I'm just like, oh, that jars me a bit when somebody moves my glasses or like moves my. Do you know what I mean? So
I don't like throw it away.
No, I know, but like just getting used to somebody else tidying my stuff was like.
I put things in neat piles and leave them out. That's the compromise, probably.
Because I think what is like a bit like fucked up and Freudian is like the only other time that you might have spent this much time with somebody who was the same age as you and you were similar, you're supposed to be like equal, is in a sibling relationship. So every now and then I'll be like, where's my stuff? You know, like, because it's like
call me your brother's name.
No, I've never done that.
You've done that fucking twice.
Have I?
Have you just like taken that out of your memory or something?
When? In what context? I don't remember that.
I think that it's both times it's been when you've been annoyed at me, like you've just been like,
Andrew, can you just leave me alone? Oh yeah, what's Craig's favourite book? And ask Craig to guess your favourite book. Thanks, Finola.
I don't need to
Fiona.
guess because I know.
Go on then.
What's your favourite book? Mm-hmm. It's called Geek Love.
It is by Catherine Dunn.
I don't know all the details about all of your books. I know like little bits about different books that you know. I'm like, you like that book called Motherhood by Sheila Heti.
This links into another question. Somebody was asking, how do you cope with competition in relationships, like creatively or otherwise? And like, so something that's interesting that I think about this is that I'm like, when you're like, oh, sorry, I don't know that much about books, I'm like, it's okay because I kind of want to be the person who knows most about the books, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd be a bit like, if you kept recommending books to me and been like, oh, I've actually already read that one, or like, you knew about the Man Booker long list before me or something, I'd be like, books are my thing.
The one thing I would say is that now that it's become more of your like job and that you're, you know, only working part-time in a regular office job like mine and the rest of the time you're working at home, it's a really, really weird mix of like happiness for Leena that you're doing so well and like pride that I like feel proud of you in a non-patronising way. And there's definitely like a hint of jealousy, but in like a
why I order.
Yeah, well, it's because like I'm like, oh, I'd really like to do that, but then I feel like your success is my success, and like, well, you know, I mean, I'm 4 years younger than you, so I'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah, and I think like I wouldn't have been able. No, it's not feminist. I want to say I wouldn't be able to do it without you, but I'm a strong, independent woman.
I mean, I think that like you're allowed to say stuff like that. Well, you don't have to be like.
I think you
proving
made it
yourself with every statement.
I think I have come out. I've done it, and I'm also happy and calm and feel supported. Whereas I could have done it on my own, but I think I might have been way more stressed about it and way less, like, I don't know. You just make me very happy.
I think that you've done all the work though. I think that anybody would benefit from having somebody to support them.
Yeah.
But it's 100% been your work. I haven't contributed.
Have you seen I, Tonya, when when the mum's like, some people are the flower and some people are the gardener. I hope you're a gardener because this one's a handful. I feel like I'm the flower.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that's all your work. You just need me to be like, you're not shit sometimes.
Yeah. Is it wrong to settle for someone in your 20s? Like, being comfortable isn't always happiness. Meg J, OG, a fae, who wrote a book about your 20s, is like, always calls it slide or decide. So like, either you like slide into a relationship by accident because you just like around that time, or you've like intentionally decided to be in it. And I think sliding is not acceptable in your 20s. And deciding is a very good thing. But I can understand how both things can happen in your 20s quite easily because there's so much pressure.
By this point in other relationships that I've been in, going back to serial monogamy, which I genuinely don't think is problematic because I'm aware of it and I'm like, it's not like I've ever dated anyone that I haven't fancied.
If we ever release merch, can we release breakfast cereal called Monogamy?
Monogamy is. By this point in every other relationship, I got to a point where I just felt really uncomfortable. I feel like people that I've spoken to about this, you can speak to them till they're blue in the face and they're not going to leave until they're ready to. But I always think it's worth embracing the fear and doing it over staying in something that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that it is right for some people and it's been right for us. But, you know this because I've told you this, but there have been a lot of times where I've been like I've got to check in with myself. I'm like, okay, I'm in a serious relationship.
Going well?
Yeah, I'm in a relationship and I'm 25 and everything's going well. Am I happy? Yes, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of people will do it because it's the done thing. People will buy a house because it's the done thing and also they've saved up for it. But like, it's the done thing. That's what motivates a lot of people to do it. People get married because that's what a lot of people do. And I think a lot of people don't, not everyone, a lot of people do consciously make decisions, but I also think a lot of other people will do things because it's the done thing and they don't really know. So they're just going to do it because, that's what people tell you you're supposed to do. I
think when you're in primary school and secondary school, like for me, a lot of my... Like in my friendship group, there were a lot of divorces and like parents who were divorced and like unhappy, or were together and unhappy. And like we kind of always had these conversations where we were like, how did they become like that? How did they hate each other so much? Why would they even be together if they're so clearly unsuited? And like, you never understand how those people become like that until you get into your 20s and then you slowly see your friends making those decisions that lead to relationships like that aren't healthy and that are unsuited, abusive, dodgy, and like you're like, oh, this is how it happens. It doesn't happen. The Nazis don't take over all at once. First they put up some signs, then they do a march. It's not like Nazis, although it is. But yeah, so I think like those things are so easy to fall into in your 20s, and I don't think you should. And we constantly reevaluate whether we are, and we're not. How to avoid falling into the trap of just hanging out all the time when you could be doing productive stuff. Do productive stuff together. We are laptop club. Laptop club always.
Yeah. And also what we said earlier, sometimes just don't spend time. Just like make the conscious decision. Just be like, hey,
that's
look,
enough of that drug.
I think you're great, but I just need to relax over here without you today. And that's fine, But it's not like that. It's not ever like offensive.
Yeah.
Lena's just like, I'm just going to go down to the pub or the cafe to work on things, and I'm like, that's cool, I'll see you later. And that's like all it has to,
I do get abandonment guilt though. I'm always like, is Craig angry that I went and did my own thing? Do you think he's thinking about how I'm not with him?
Can't relate.
Then you have to push it down.
Yeah.
I just think your way it's really weird because I think when people would see us, they think that you're more secure. I'm more secure than you because I'm more like extroverted, but I think you're a lot more secure than me. It's really weird.
But you proved it,
Circular, going back to the first question, I think that our comparable TV couple is Cornelius and Thingy from Watch My Chops. And you're Cornelius the dog.
I am a dog. A dog who's incredibly bright.
And all of the night.
Cornel, you can talk! I can do much more, Bernie. But keep it to yourself.
Bernie! I'm Bernie, who's like
Let
wandering
the cat
around
out
the
of the
world.
bag, you be a celebrity. Hey, if you want to lead a dog's life, the secret's got to stay with you and me. Shush.
Shush.
Don't choke. The doggy spoke his head.
Watch my chops!
They must never hear a word. A talking dog.
How absurd.
I hate us so much.
Let's go. Sorry we didn't finish the puzzle. We're just too impatient and childish. This video is part of a series called the 20s Toolkit. You can watch that here if you'd like to see more advice on being in your 20s and all of the pitfalls you can fall into. My name is Leena Norms. If you'd like to stay around, you can subscribe. And also, if you're interested in joining the Gumption Club, which is a super secret Facebook group with lots of free stuff attached, you can click below. I hope that answered all your questions. If it didn't, then I guess we're going to do another Q&A when we're 40.
Yes.
And we'll see you later. Bye!
Running through the 6 with my woes.